All right. Good afternoon, kiddos. And today we're going to be continuing work on Year of Miss Agnes. We're going to be reading chapter 9. But as we read today, we're going to be starting something that we've done before. And this is our line of thinking. We start thinking about this after we finish quadrant 2, and we finish quadrant 2, and we start thinking about the theme. Another way of talking about theme is line of thinking. And the theme of a book is basically the message or the ideas that the author wants us to understand. And so I'm going to be writing down line of thinking or the theme of this book, and then we're going to be finding evidence of this. So we talked a little bit about this in our last lesson, which is, so line of thinking or the theme is a pioneer, is someone who continues to persevere despite hardship. Oh man, that's tiny. Let me make that bigger. I was typing and I wasn't paying attention to font size. That's still little. Let's go with that. Okay, that's, Miss B didn't spell that right. Okay, so let's look at this a little bit. So a pioneer is someone who continues to persevere despite hardship. So I got some thinking from Violet on this, where she wrote me that Boko was an example of this, where that she persevered and stayed in school and was starting to learn sign language rather than going home. So she's got the hardship of being deaf, but instead of just giving up with that, or just going, okay, that's my life, she's basically staying in school and trying to learn sign language at a pretty old age. Like I think she's 12. So this is an example of evidence. And I'm going to do this again in caveat, and I'll do it in this side. And I'll be writing some evidence, and you guys can be writing this in your notebooks. So a piece of evidence, and I'm going to basically paraphrase what I just said, is that Boko begins to learn sign language so that she can communicate with others. Okay, and I did get this idea from Violet. Okay, so she wrote me this, and I like it when I can do color. Okay, so, and this was from our text, this was on page 58. So that we always want to give that place where we found it in the book. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be reading chapter 9, and we're going to look for other pieces of evidence in chapter 9, but I'm going to tell you, this is what we're going to be doing this week, is that each day that I read a chapter, we're going to be adding information to this chart. And so if I don't add anything today for chapter 9, we'll be adding to it, and this will be our assignment this week. And so again, what we're looking for is we're paying attention to when someone in the book perseveres, basically works hard despite the hardship, despite something that's really difficult. Okay, all right. So hopefully I can finish this chapter in the time that I've got left. I might have to do two. So I'm on chapter 9, page 59. In November, little Pete had to go to the tramp line with his grandpa and his dad and his uncles. Little Pete's auntie, Bernie, usually went to winter camp with them and did all the cooking. Little Pete's mom was dead. That's why, a long time ago, when little Pete was just born, They had measles at our old village of Dolby. These measles killed a lot of people, mostly the old people and the babies. But little Pete's mom died then. So measles is a type of disease that we now get vaccinations for it. So this is what we're trying to do for COVID, is find a vaccine to basically help with COVID. But at one point, measles was a really deadly disease. But now there's a vaccine, so that if we get that or if we get that shot, we are basically protected against that disease. But I can tell from here that this is this was something that happened to little Pete. Okay, I'm going to get on the right page here. Okay, so Big Bernie, we always called his aunt. She was really big, like little Pete, and could do anything a man could do. Once, she even made a cabin by herself, 8 logs high. Grandpa said it was a good one, too. Usually little Pete was dying to get out to camp as soon as it snowed. He really liked it out there in their camp because he liked being out in the woods. But he didn't really want to go this year because school was so interesting with Miss Agnes there. Talk about a contrast and contradiction, okay? This tells me that little Pete, and probably a lot of the kids, that school is suddenly a really nice place to be compared to with other teachers where it was probably pretty boring. Most of all, he didn't want to miss the end of Robin Hood. He wasn't good at reading to read it for himself, so Miss Agnes read extra long the last day he was in school, and we finished the book. That was really nice of Miss Agnes. So little Pete was glad of that, and Miss Agnes gave him a little notebook and told him to write in it every day so he wouldn't forget all he had learned about printing nicely. That was nice of Miss Agnes. A few weeks later, Roger went to camp too. Roger's family was very big. There were 9 kids altogether. The oldest ones hadn't gone very much, and there were the little ones who didn't go to school yet. The twins were 4, and Frankie was 2 years old, and there was a new one, the baby Lisa. There was a lot of hurrah in the village when Roger's family got ready to go because they were taking 3 dog teams. We all stood out in the street at recess time and watched them leave. Wow, talk about a difference. They left with a dog team. I'll see if I can find a picture of that. All the dogs in town were barking and pulling at their chains, wishing that they could go too. Roger's oldest brother was loading up the freight sled. Roger was going to drive, and those dogs were just jerking in their harnesses and barking and wanting to get out on the trail. Roger was standing on the brake with both feet, and he could just barely keep the dogs from moving the sled. It was funny to watch. The sleds were piled high with bales of dried dogfish and food and all the stuff they needed at camp. They didn't tie it down real careful the way most people did. It was just kind of thrown in there. They were a happy family, happy-go-lucky. Nearly every day, some other family would go off to winter camp, and the village was getting emptier and emptier. And I'm remembering from the book that Boko and Fred don't go out to winter camp because they don't have a dad, okay, and it's too hard, and their grandparents are too old. Soon, Mary and Solomon had to stay home from school to take care of the kids because her mom was getting out to help her dad trap. Miss Agnes told Marie to come to her cabin at night, and they would keep up their reading together. Marie was always having to stay with those kids. Her mom had one nearly every year, and there was another one coming. I knew there were 2 still in diapers because I helped Marie hang out the washing when I had time. I like to help Marie because she was so happy. So I'm going to say that I think this is a hardship for Marie, okay, that it says here on page 62, Marie was always having to stay with her kids or with her brothers and sisters. So that's a hardship, okay? But instead of just giving into it, what but she is going to keep reading at night. Okay, so Marie has to stay home and take care of her younger brothers and sisters. Okay, so that's the hardship. But then what she does is make sure I get this right. She keeps up with her reading at night with the help of Miss Agnes. Okay, and this was on page 62. And you know me, I want to make this font cute. And I'll make it bigger. Okay, so we can definitely see this is evidence up here that Marie is a pioneer. She continues to work hard despite hardships. Even though she can't be at school, she's still going to continue with her learning. Okay, that's what I hope we're all doing with distance learning. Okay, let's see if I can keep reading. She had to do the wash every day in the old gas washer just to keep up with the diapers. That took a lot of water. We had to melt snow to get water in the winter. Sometimes Grandpa said the other men would cut big chunks of ice from the lake behind the village too. Ice make lots more work than snow. In the summer, we all got water from the river. And Marie had to cook all the meals for those kids when her folks were gone and make bread. It's a lot of work. So boy, we just see that Marie's, she's got a lot of work that she has to do. Still, she had time to curl her hair in those rods she had from the Sears catalog, and she made it look like it in the magazines, turned back away from her face. And she kept that house clean too. The floor was always swept. My grandma thought she was a really good girl. She was just proud of her. So we see that even though she's got a hard work, she's doing good things. She's curling her hair, making herself look nice, and she's also keeping the house clean. But Mama didn't think much of Marie because she was always singing to the radio when you came in the house. Mama thought work was too serious for singing. And because Marie was always the one who danced most and the longest when we had a dance, all of Roger's big brothers and whoever there were from some other village, they always wanted to dance with Marie. That made Mama look sour when that happened. Miss Agnes didn't like Marie having to take care of all those kids herself. I could tell. You need to know how to read and write to get along in life, Miss Agnes said to Marie. But I could tell Marie thought she already knew how to do everything she needed to know to get along in life. She was proud she could already do everything a woman was supposed to do. Yeah, I could see that. Miss Agnes wants her to be able to read and write. I think Miss Agnes worried about Marie because she didn't learn fast. Or maybe because Marie was so good-natured, she'd do what anybody said. Anyway, she kept Marie at it, even if she wasn't coming to school with us. Marie wasn't the only one. Plasker's father came to Miss Agnes' cabin sometimes at night, and she helped him learn to read and write. And even old man Toby came to learn to write his name. Wow, Miss Agnes is helping the adults learn. Okay, I've got just a few seconds to finish up. Miss Agnes didn't think school was just for kids. You have to keep learning all your life, she said. Boy, she sounds like Ms. B. That was a good thing to think about, always learning something new. It wasn't like you had to hurry up and learn everything right away before the learning time was over. It was like you could kind of relax and take your time and enjoy it. And we'll stop there.